Hey everyone, welcome to episode 13 of my outdoor kitchen project. And I didn't really get a lot done this week. Actually, stay tuned. At the very end of the video, I got out and did some fishing. We got some pretty good sized snook and a few other fish, and just beautiful boating day. I shot a few videos. Also, there's a little bit of dolphin action. We had this dolphin that just followed us around like a dog for a while. So check that out at the very end of the video. But in this episode, I managed to get the concrete board and ledger stone on this section of the frame of the cabinet anyway. This is how I cut that stuff. I just cut it right in the grass. Keeps the dust down and makes it pretty easy to cut. And that's just a Milwaukee grinder with a 4-inch diamond wheel in it. Maybe it's 4.5, but really easy to cut. And I decided to screw it and glue it to the frame. And I did that because there is quite a bit of weight that is, the ledger stone is pretty heavy, and I wanted it to be secured. And then these are just self-tapping Phillips head screws that I'm able to countersink down into the concrete. That opening there is for a vent. I found this vent on Amazon that's about 1 inch thick. It worked out perfectly for the ledger stone, which is about 3/4 of an inch thick. And that, combined with the concrete board, brought that vent right out to the face of the stone. And you'll see here in a minute, it really came out nice. I needed a straight edge for the edge of the cabinet here, so I just screwed some concrete board in there just to provide me a surface to push the ledger up against as I mudded it in. And not going to be able to do the fronts of the cabinets. I'm still kind of struggling with what I want to do. I think once the entire cabinet is done, with the exception of the front, which is under the side burner there, which is what you can see, and then further back in the picture, the little front cabinet that's underneath the sink. I think once everything's done except for those two, I'll decide if I'm going to wait until potentially March, until the cabinet doors come in from alfresco, or do something completely different and make it an open storage with stone shelves, and I'll be able to just slide in grill components on the left, and then just have a little trash can on the right. So I haven't yet decided, but what I'm doing here is I laid out all of the ledger stone to get my measurements to see if I wanted to start with maybe shave 1/8 of an inch or so off the bottom. It turned out that I was going to end up with a 1/2 inch, so I decided to just go ahead and run it right up to the bottom of the granite, and then you'll see me cut and fit these little stones in. I got them really nice. Right there I had to grind off a little bit of the concrete base just to get that stone to be level with the deco drain. And just like I did on the columns, I went ahead and put about a 1/4 inch relief between the bottom of the ledger stone and the top of the deco drain to let any water and grit and whatever just flow down there. So it's not actually sitting on the deco drain. If that thing ever had to be replaced, that'll work to our advantage because we'll be able to slide it out. Here you can start to see how that frame for the vent worked also as a brace to hold the stone. So if I had to do this again, I would definitely do that. And I think I'm going to cut 2 vents right through the concrete in the back underneath the grill. You just can't have enough ventilation, and if I leave the 2 cabinets open, I probably won't do that. But if I do end up closing in those cabinets with doors, I will pull the fridge out, cut a hole, and go ahead and vent it directly outside. I'll need to put some screen in place in order to do that, but that is an option down the road. This area here is pretty straightforward. It's so much better than doing the columns. When you do the columns, you have to cut, and weave the stone around all 4 sides. It's just really time consuming. So it's pretty gratifying when you can just run right up a wall and only have to cut the 2 sides straight. What I'm doing right here is taking zip ties and a screwdriver and just twisting the screwdriver to raise the distance between the stones, and then slipping a zip tie in. And I put about 3 or 4 zip ties, so you can imagine the thickness of a zip tie. And what that did is it made this perfectly straight, because that's where you could see it. and those gaps that I created in the wall you won't ever see. So you can see at the very bottom of the screen there's one of those zip ties. So really just a 1/16 of an inch, if that, times 3 or 4 gave me the adjustment I needed so that the stone appeared to be perfectly level with the bottom of the granite. And then this tedious work is just cutting these stones into 1/2-inch slices and then getting them in there without getting thin set all over the place. Even though I was as careful as I could be, I still did get a little bit that squeezed out, and that rag that I was using to wipe it just wasn't enough. So I decided to wait a little while so that it's set up, and then go ahead and just use the hose and spray it up in there like you see me doing right there. And that not only got rid of any thin set, mud, whatever you want to call it, it cleared it all up, but it gives you a look at what the stone looks like when it's wet. It's just beautiful. Just want to give you a close-up of this and how it turned out. I haven't pulled the little screws out yet. I need to go get a pair of pliers to do that, but I just put some stainless steel bolts in there to allow for the same gap that I have down there. Really just so dirt doesn't collect in there. It gives enough room for the drain to work properly. And then I do have to put the rest of the screws in here. And then here's a close-up of this little gap. I've got a little bit of thin set to clean off right there. Overall, it came out really good. And you can see the amazing difference in color from dry, this is dry, and when it was wet. So once it's all sealed, it'll be that darker, more defined color. And I cannot finish these right here until I get the doors in, because I just don't know how much framing I need for the top of the door, and if I have the width right, which I'm pretty sure I do, but I'm just going to wait on this. And the plan is for these tiles right here to go right here. And then I'll just round them off here, and that'll be the finished look. And I'll stagger them so that you do get some seams. And then there'll probably be 1 or 2 rows here above the door. And then of course 1.5 rows probably on the bottom there. And then I will do the same thing here. And I think what I'll do is bring it up 2 more courses and put a cap on it, and then it'll be all back there. Oops. And it'll be around here. It'll cover this and then come straight down, and then right here the stone will start again. So the next project is to wrap these, and let's get to that now. So this might look like a simple job, it's just such a small area, but it is just such a pain. I only got 2 courses done. It's just all the up and down. It's like doing 1,000 squats, and you got to cut every single one of them to fit, and then weave the stones. It's just a concentrated version of those other columns, just as much work. But it took a couple hours, I would say, probably 2.5 hours to get 2 courses done. A little longer because I had to cut around that area, that hole where the foot bar goes in, the footrest. So I'll just let you watch this. It's no different than the columns, and it's coming out really nice. In order to make them level, there is a little bit of an uneven gap around the pavers, and you'll see that. But it looks fine. It looks like it's supposed to. The columns are level and the pavers are not. And I'm not sure where I'm going to end up. I think I'm going to end up with a half a piece. up on the top underneath that granite, which is fine because it'll match what's up underneath the area that we just did, that same half piece sliver. And that'll actually probably be easier because it's less of a straight run, easier to get straight looking. But anyway, I'll just speed through this and then be back with you to show you what it looked like when it was done. In this area, I wanted to show you what I ended up doing. I think it's going to hold. I'll show you at the end of the video how tight it is, but what I did was just fill that hole with the thin set and then cut a little notch there. I'll show it to you when it's done, but I think that it's going to hold. If it doesn't hold, I have a different plan, but it seems pretty tight, and we'll just have to let it have some use and see how it holds up in order to know if that stainless steel, it's about in there about 2 inches probably, and we'll just have to see if it holds or not. And here I started in on the second course, which was just a little bit less tedious because it didn't have to work around that bar, but it's still just ridiculous. I really look forward to these columns being done. This is really the last of all of the weaving of corners. The next area will be along the side wall there on the right where those fishing rods and all that stuff is leaning. And then the shower area, I can't remember what episode I showed you that, but that shower area will be pretty straightforward because it's just a solid wall. The only problem is it's about 14 feet up, so it'll be a pretty big wall of stone. I think it'll look just amazing. So this is all I got done, just these 2 courses. This coming week I will work on finishing these columns, and be sure to stay tuned to the end here because there's a little fishing, and also I take you through kind of a tour of the work so far. So stay tuned, and of course, thanks for watching and thanks for staying with me through all these episodes. It'll be over someday, and then we can just enjoy it. And here is the final product of this week's work. Doesn't really feel like much got done, that's for sure, but I already showed you earlier in the video this wall here, and then I got 2 courses done on the columns, and I realized that because of the concrete pour, I measured this block exactly to fit 3 courses of stone. The concrete pour caused it to be about 1/8 of an inch too big, so we end up with about 1/8 of an inch right there, but it's going to work out fine because I'll put a little spacer on the bottom and it'll look just like this basically. Right there. There'll be a tiny space on the top and a tiny space on the bottom. And I think I'm going to try to be very careful not to get any mud in this space. I haven't really decided yet. I think it'll look good if it's just a very, very slight difference. Because fortunately it is perfectly square, so it'll look the same all the way around. Down here, these courses took forever because the corners are just such a pain, and I had to work my way all the way around this right here, which this is in here pretty solid. What I did was I just notched the stone right here, stuffed that in there with some mud, and I figure if it ever breaks loose, I'll just epoxy it in. What I'll do is drill a hole through it, put some epoxy in there, and then the hole will act like a mechanical pin. But I don't think it's going to come loose. We'll just have to see. But this turned out really nice. You know, it just kind of disappears right into the stone on both sides. And I just need to work my way all the way up. It's really, really slow going. So next week, I think what I'll do is go ahead and work on the backsplash. I have to stop by the tile store and get some more mud. I'm almost out. I don't know what I even did with the bag. There it is. And I think I'll work on the backsplash. I need to find some kind of cap for the backsplash, like a round over travertine pencil, something like that. And then I also need to decide how high I'm going to go here. And then because this back here is so off, it's about an inch here and it's almost 2 inches hangover over here. I think what I'll do is mount the stones to a piece of concrete board. And then I'll be able to get it in there perfect. I won't have to worry about building that up back there. I'll just put one big dab of mud back here and push the concrete board in as far as until it's level. You know, the mud will just squirt out until it's level. And then I will also be able to cover these two sides, here, and behind. And then I mentioned it in last week's video, but I never got to it, build the base for these drawers right over here. I have decided to just completely wait on this until the doors come in, which could be March. The last word that we got was March, which is just absolutely crazy. But it is what it is. And I could use the brake. And speaking of the brake, stay tuned because I did get out on the water. Pretty good dolphin show and quite a few fish. So I'll give you a little view of that. But anyway, there's where we are so far. It's looking pretty good. Let me get back a little further. Once this is done, it'll be stone, stone, and stone. And then this whole back wall will be stone. I just think it's gonna look amazing. It's just taken forever. Thanks for watching. See ya. Oh, one other thing. I bought this stainless steel kind of prep station thing. It just slides around. You know, it's just a pretty decent gauge piece of steel. I got it on Amazon. I think it looks great. It's a good food prep area. I can pull it off or put it on. But that's a little addition to bring a little more stainless into this center area. Okay, that really is it. See you next time. Thanks. Out and did some fishing again. Did pretty well. This boat is a 1998 Baycraft 18.5 edition. I've had it for over 20 years. That motor back there is a 96 Evinrude. If you follow my channel, you know I've done a ton of videos on that motor, and as you can see, it is running beautifully. This morning was just beautiful. The river was like a lake. The temperature was kind of cool. And we have this dolphin that decided to hang out with us and scare all the fish away, which was unfortunate, but the dolphin was pretty cool to watch. He was just playing in there, and we actually moved to a different island about, I don't know, a couple hundred yards away. In fact, that island in the background there. And the guy followed us like a dog, basically just like that, just like what you see there. Followed us to the other island. These are some white pelicans that come this time of year. I think they're just really cool looking. And here's a view of our fishing grounds. There is just fish. You fish anywhere you see, and you will catch something. The fishing has been fantastic. Here's a big trout my brother caught. Got this snook. Got another snook here. And here we have another trout, pretty good size. And lastly, another pretty decent snook. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe. And I post a new video just about every week. So this was This was episode 13. Next up is episode 14, and I've got a couple other videos planned that I might fill in here and there. So thanks. See ya.